I'm just a simple man trying to make my way through the Star Wars fandom. Good afternoon, morning, evening, or night. Welcome to Is the Mandalorian Season 2 as good as they say? I'm your host, Alex, joined by my bro, Jim.
Howdy, partner.
Where to begin with this? I guess we should give like a brief overview of our thoughts on Season 1, because we never talked about that before we delve into Season 2. I really liked Season 1. I thought it held true to the like origins of Star Wars with the serial storytelling, the Western influence, and they introduced like a cool main character with his like backstory in the way he hates droids, and it had the Ugnaught guy. It was cute. It was nice, you know?
Yeah, I'm right with you. It had the odd episode that...
Yeah, there are a couple stinkers in there. The one set on Tatooine I didn't like with the sniper, and the one with the Bill Burr I wasn't too keen on. It was just something about that cast of like prisoners that was just so goofy to me.
Yeah, for sure.
The, like devil guy and stuff. I mean, I get it. Like he's in the original movie and whatever, but...
Yeah, it just felt a bit cheaper when they'd set the bar pretty high with the early episodes.
Yeah, and the first season felt very like kind of creature of the week type structure, because with him being a bounty hunter and him doing his missions with the overall kind of Baby Yoda, what is he, where is this going type thing. So when you jump into Season 2, I was kind of surprised at how quickly they moved the story along, because the complaint about like Season 1 was like it was like a video game kind of side quest thing where he's like building up his armor, he's doing side quests to get money, and you know, this kind of stuff. But Season 2 is way more about just the Baby Yoda, like where he comes from and where that has to end and result with.
Yeah, I really appreciate how, because the most annoying thing for me at the moment with TV shows is how long they can take to tell a relatively simple story. And they take way more time, like even this being 2 seasons of a show, like it's way more time than a movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really appreciate the faster pace here.
I don't know how they could stretch the Baby Yoda thing out more than these 2 seasons. I suppose we'll go to we will be talking spoilers in this. I think we're going to go, there are only 8 episodes, so we'll just go episode by episode, specifying which chapter is which and whatever, and kind of say our general thoughts in it and wrap it up at the end, if that's all right with you, bro.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's start with Chapter 9. They've structured it around this chapter idea, so Season 2 starts with Chapter 9. It's all continuing in that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Marshal, which was basically setting up Boba. It's a bit of a trick, like to make you think, oh, he's going to come out like the Sarlacc pit in the episode or whatever, but it was about like it was a Marshal with the guy from Justified being a Marshal. His little problems and Mando working with him to get the armor. Had some cool action stuff in it. I liked the opening scene where he's like on the speeder and the guys like set a trap for him.
Yeah.
There's loads of fun stuff like that, and it had the whole worm set piece. The production value on the show is just immense.
I feel like with this first episode they were like really ready to show off like what to expect. They won people over with that first season. It's like, now we got that Disney money and we need some good faith in the Star Wars community, so let's just basically make these movies. They're all like 40-minute long movie production kind of, and the action quality and just everything cinematic about it and big, just big scale about it is all on point. Like easily with movies that are being released at this time. Yeah, it looks better than some or the entire prequel series, which are triple movies.
I think what it required was the technology to catch up with what is required to do Star Wars justice. Like the prequels were just a bit too early,
Yeah, for sure.
For what George was envisioning with that, and this dome thing that Jon Favreau has kind of invented for this show is clearly help them make this way quicker than you'd imagine, because we were just looking up when the first season came out, and both of these seasons were released in 2020, which is like, I suppose it goes to show how long this year has felt.
When you look at how long it takes for a movie to be made and like the amount of people it requires, and then this show comes out with 2 seasons, that's many hours
16
worth
episodes
of content, and like the effects are rarely bad. Yeah, it's really impressive. But this first episode, Chapter 9, the character of the Marshal, he's from a book. So it's something that I think a lot of people have an issue with The Mandalorian and all Star Wars stuff.
Oh, I didn't know. What you mean? He's like from an extended universe book?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't actually have any clue about that.
Yeah, I watched a Star Wars YouTube video about it. how do you feel about
the small galaxy syndrome?
Yeah.
I think there are cases where it's really annoying and there are cases where I don't have a problem with it. Certain characters show up at certain points that, I don't know, because it was thanks to this season that kind of inspired me to go and watch the Clone Wars to try and understand where a lot of this stuff is coming from, which on one hand is inherently annoying if you don't want to watch the Clone Wars, and a lot of people obviously don't, and I'm sure most people haven't. My whole thing is that The Mandalorian is about the Mandalorian, so Mandalorian characters showing up makes sense, but I guess it's more when you get into like the Jedi and people like the Marshal and like just the constant cameos and references to things you know. It's just been like a long-term Star Wars problem anyway, and it was definitely worse in this season than the first one. There's a bit of it in the first one. I don't know. It didn't like ruin it for me, to be honest.
No, I totally agree. And especially with this first one, this will be a recurring point. But with this first one, neither of us knew that.
And I don't think it made it worse. I think each one seems to be its own little self-contained story in a way still. Like, he still has his mission, so that side of it doesn't bother me too much. I don't know. Maybe I'll have to think about it more. Chapter 10 is, I think, generally regarded as the weakest episode, even though, I don't know, I really liked it. It's the one with the spiders and the frog woman who needed to be transported and they couldn't go to hyperspace because it would kill the eggs and all this. And it had the like reference to that famous piece of Star Wars art with the spider thing, and I liked that. I've always liked that piece of concept art for Star Wars, so it was cool seeing that getting a nod. That's the kind of nod stuff I like, where it's like for the ultra nerds, you know, that like shit like that. But yeah, it didn't really move forward the plot. It was more about, you know, just Baby Yoda being cute and going in for the, you know, the parenting kind of angle, cementing that a bit more with Din and Baby.
Yeah, I think it's more for character development.
Yeah.
The building this relationship between the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda.
Yeah. Yeah, they needed some time together that wasn't always just like plot and killing stormtroopers and stuff like that.
Yeah. How did you feel about Baby Yoda eating unborn babies?
I know this was controversial or whatever in the Star Wars community that he ate like some of the frog babies. Like it was a character assassination, quote unquote. I didn't care. I thought it was funny. It was cute.
Yeah, I'm surprised there were. This sort of spoils the next episode, but there weren't like any repercussions for the actions.
Yeah, I was expecting that to be played up a bit more.
Yeah,
but he's been eating like weird things the whole show, hasn't he? It's been like a running gag that he loves like eating.
Yeah,
I like that about Baby Yoda, that they're not afraid to make him kind of a gross monster still.
Yeah, totally, and it is just funny.
Yeah, I think it was designed around being just like a little gag, like an ongoing gag for it, because it was directed by Ant-Man director Peyton Reed, who directed 2 episodes this season. He did Chapter 10 and he did the last episode too.
Wow.
So he did the fan least favourite and fan most favourite episodes. So anything else on Chapter 10?
Not a whole lot happened,
well, yeah, because it's kind of it ends on, not a cliffhanger, but the story isn't complete in that one. It's not like a one-off Creature of the Week episode, because it goes into Chapter 11.
That's right, yeah, because he's transporting this character.
Yeah, to the Heiress is Chapter 11, where Baby Yoda and Mando like go on like a freighter, and Baby Yoda gets like smacked into the ocean, and this weird like thing. Do you remember that? Like tries to eat him, and then Bo-Katan and the other Mandalorians show up and save the day.
Yeah.
So this to me was my actual least favorite episode. The first time I saw it, I guess. I've only seen it once, but as someone who hadn't seen the Clone Wars, I didn't understand why who Bo-Katan was, or really why they're important or anything like that. I guess to me that was where the big red flags were like, I hope it doesn't just become the, you know, the small universe, the small galaxy syndrome thing again. But then when you think, but it goes back to what I was saying before, where it's like they are Mandalorian characters. The Darksaber is like a part of season 1. Mandalore is a continuous thing in the show, and they are Mandalorians that are alive in the timeline who are incredibly relevant to that story, so I can't really get too annoyed about that.
Yeah, I'm fine with them being in the show. That's fine to me, but I feel like they didn't really, me as someone that hasn't watched the Clone Wars, they didn't really tell me who these people are well enough.
Yeah, I had the problem where it was it had to do a lot of things at the same time, because they can't really stop the show to give Bo-Katan this entire explained story thing, when at the same time that they've already got the Baby Yoda shit and Mando, and
yeah,
they could have
totally
put a bit more in there, but
it's just the amount of screen time and like respect this character gets. They're constantly trying to make her badass and stuff, but as someone that has no connection to this character, I don't really care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I wouldn't blame you for that. I do like her more now that I've seen some of her stuff from the Clone Wars, but it is lame that it's like trapped in that show, you know? That it could have done with a bit more maybe exposition, but some of the exposition can be like really clumsy in the show, so I'd prefer it to just be streamlined, because it is incredibly streamlined. Like, I don't think a single episode has been over an hour, so
yeah,
you know, every episode's like chock full of action and shit in the typical Star Wars way, and it seems to stay true to like what it is. It knows what it is, I think, pretty well.
This also starts this episode starts, I feel like, the main arc of The Mandalorian of this season, because he meets these Mandalorians that take off their helmets.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, because it's a part of his character, of course, that it's basically explained that he's part of a cult.
Yeah, which I thought was actually really cool.
Yeah, I think that's awesome that like Mandalore's this like ancient place, and just the remnants of it all have like different interpretations of their old ways and stuff. And he's like from an extremist sect of it.
Yeah, it's surprisingly like nuanced for Star Wars.
Yeah, something that none of the movies really delve into, mostly for time reasons. Like, it's so laser focused on that Skywalker story. It's cool to see the nerdier stuff explained, and that's what I really liked about the Clone Wars, was like learning about the Mandalorians, and like they have an ancient feud with the Jedi, and that's why they've like designed their armor the way they are, so they can like fight Jedi and stuff, you know. It's
all that
cool
stuff
in that
is
kind of fancy nerdy
very
way.
cool.
Yeah, that stuff is awesome. It's cool that it stays focused on Din in that way, because so many people are saying with like the rumors of Boba Fett coming back and shit that like they wanted Din to die and Boba to take over. And I'm like, no, the show is about Din, and and it's his story, you know. Yeah, you're right. It does start off his arc in that way.
I think in some ways as well, that aspect does the opposite of the small galaxy syndrome. Like saying there are these Mandalorians, but even within the Mandalorian like race, there's other sects of Mandalorians.
Yeah, what is so cool about it is like if you just go by the movies, you basically know nothing about the Mandalorians. You know, you have Boba and Jango in those movies, and they're very limited in the things they say and what they talk about, and it's all just about the plot of those movies, so you never really learn about them or the backstories that much. But through the show, you're kind of learning what they're all about, including Boba and stuff like that. So I like that side of it, and you're right, it does make it feel bigger. But going as chapter 12, the siege, where I'd say is when the overall plot kind of comes a bit more into focus too, where they kind of start nudging you to what Baby Yoda's involvement in this story is all about, with them like going to this base on that planet from the first season. It turns out to be some kind of creepy cloning facility, and there appears to be like what looks like a Snoke clone or something.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that. It wasn't until we were talking about the episode after watching it, you told me about that connection. So as much as I'm going to say now, the thing I mostly don't like about this show is where it is in the universe.
Yeah, no, this was something I was definitely going to bring up in our discussion, and I think a lot of fans feel this way, where it's like, the fact that it's doing Star Wars so well is almost disappointing, because you know it only ends up and leads to one thing, which is the sequel trilogy. And
yeah, it takes the wind out of the sails, and especially with the ending of this season.
That's why I want the show to stay small, because when it is focused just on Din and stuff, I'm into it. I like that stuff where it's just expanding the universe and the overall, like, the rise of what they called the First Order. Like, is kind of kept more to the background, but you're right, they do keep bringing it up, and it has to go that way.
Yeah.
So there's all this talk about, like, are Disney gonna retcon the sequels and shit? Like, I can't see them doing that.
No, but I think they should.
I think you're right, and I think even from a business sense, it would even work, you know? Like, that's a new trilogy they could release with make another fucking 88 billion. But the problem is they've wasted the original cast now. Harrison Ford ain't coming back.
Yeah, totally.
We don't have Leia anymore.
This episode, though, I liked it. It felt, at the start, I remember thinking, oh no, it's just, this feels like Monster of the Week sort of thing. It felt like it wasn't going to affect the story in any way.
No, I was glad about that. The only episode you could say is this sort of throwaway in that regard is The Passenger, really, and maybe the penultimate one too, where a lot of the rest of it is like a lot of setup. And that was another thing I liked about this season is it kind of incorporated things from the first season and was revisiting things, and it felt like they were exploring it, and time was passing and things were growing and changing and the world felt alive. Like they go back to Tatooine a few times and it's like the same locations with some recurring characters, so it feels like those more throwaway episodes from the first season actually had more of a point. Like even that bad episode with the sniper, we'll talk about her, she comes back in this season. There's stuff like that felt throwaway that is actually has some purpose and might be better if I ever rewatch that first season.
Yeah, I'd say the same for sure.
Carl Weathers actually directed The Siege, which is funny. And I really like that character. I think he gets Star Wars.
He's perfect.
Yeah, I think it's awesome, that kind of stuff. It was like a very action-packed one with the like TIE fighter chase and the speeders. Seeing the speeders was cool, and they're just like crashing constantly. I will say though, if this show does keep going on and on for like seasons and seasons, they need to do something about the stormtroopers, because as much as I like seeing action scenes of stormtroopers just being mowed down, it is like I need some tension to some of the action scenes sometimes, and if no one's ever really dying to them, and if all the action is always them just losing, like I just want to see that tension that they managed to get through other aspects in the later episodes. But yeah, my gut feeling when they showed off the Snoke thing and played like a few notes from Snoke's theme, I was like, oh, fuck. What are they doing?
Yeah, it just makes you... Anything that makes me remember the sequel trilogy just gives me like a knot in my stomach. I don't want to think about it. You know?
Yeah, so, and they did kind of keep that stuff in the background mostly. And the focus does tend to be on the characters, so I can deal with that stuff, because we have to remember, like, it seems to just be accepted that we're like okay with the prequels now, but that took a long time, and a lot of the prequel stuff, like even mentioning that Boba was a clone was like a huge like controversial thing in the fandom and shit, which seems to, because of the show, be just like okay now and people are fine with it. But it was the first like kind of the biggest fan service episode was chapter 13, The Jedi, which is of course the first live action interpretation of Ahsoka from the Clone Wars, played by Rosario Dawson, which I thought was a good choice. She's a really good actor. She did a good job.
Yeah, again, I'm not really familiar with that character, but she just very much felt like wise Jedi.
I thought the Jedi stuff with her was perfect, when she like sits down with him, communicates with him silently, reveals his name for the first time, gives his backstory that he was in Order 66, which they still have to explain at some point. I thought that stuff was awesome, and the way she's like a wise Jedi, because apparently it was actually part of Ahsoka's design, where Dave Filoni, when he created her, he wanted her to be like annoyed and hated at first.
Right.
And be like an annoying kind of rebellious like teenager. So then over the journey of the show, she gradually learns like wisdom. So there's like an actual character arc to her. And in the episode, she has like a wise Jedi. And it's cool to see that progress. If you go back to the like first season of Clone Wars, she is like an annoying kid basically. And then going all the way to here, there's like a whole journey there.
Which very similar to Luke. Mm-hmm. Luke's whole journey.
It's the way to do it, yeah. And again, the fact it is a Jedi showing up in the show. In season 1, this was kind of like my biggest fear, was them just going into the Jedi shit. But then when you think about it, Baby Yoda is Force sensitive, and that has been a core tenet of the show since the beginning too. So you can't really progress Baby Yoda's story without incorporating the Jedi. He's a Force sensitive creature, which is like inherently valuable in this universe at this time because there are so few. And of course, relating him to the Jedi is just where it has to go.
Yeah, I agree. Again, the annoying thing is he really feels like he should have been the focus of like this to me. These 2 seasons feel like episode 6, and Or episode 7 and 8, sorry.
Yeah, well, there's way more going on than in any of those new movies.
Yeah, for sure. And it feels important, but also different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like side stuff done the right way without it kind of is overshadowing the sequel trilogies, but in the timeline it fits and makes sense. And the way like Ahsoka shows up, like it's not like retconning anything. It's like, yeah, this makes sense. She, in the Clone Wars, she like abandons the Jedi Order, so her being there like makes perfect sense. And she declines to train him because of her Clone Wars backstory of seeing what happened with Anakin, and the like all of her motivations I thought made perfect sense, and it was like a good way of doing it. On top of the way it had the whole kind of samurai stuff with it was very like Japanese inspired with that, you know, the fight at the end with the spear and the temple and everything, sieging the temple. I like that. And I'm glad it didn't become like the Ahsoka show. It clearly was like a Marvel like teasing the Ahsoka show type thing, like where's Thrawn at the end, but it didn't take the focus away from the main story, you know.
Yeah, and what other character... I mean, obviously they wrote her into the show, but they made it feel natural. You know, he's looking for a Jedi. There aren't very many of them. She's one of them.
And she's genuinely pretty cool. I have no problem with Ahsoka. And we move on to Chapter 14, The Tragedy, which, as far as like the nerd reactions that they want goes... For me, this was the one that tickled me the most.
This was probably my favorite episode.
Yeah, it was mine too. It just ramped it up because I was like, after that Jedi episode, I was like, right, okay, they're probably going to slow down now. It's just going to be 3 sort of slower episodes that are going to end on some cliffhanger so they can keep everyone subscribed for season 3. But like it just opens, they already arrive at this Jedi like artifact thing that Baby Yoda has to sit on to communicate and try and get in contact with a Jedi. But then like Boba Fett's ship comes in. It's like, oh my god, they actually did it.
Yeah, because obviously they teased him in the first episode.
They also teased him in season 1 too.
Yeah. And I remember us talking about that and saying like, oh, it's probably a tease for like season 7 or something, like way later on. And then you see Slave 1, you obviously know that's his ship. Being a Star Wars dork, like...
And Slave 1 is like, it's my favorite Star Wars ship. It's the coolest fucking thing.
It's awesome.
It's such like an impractical, weird design. Like the way it like tilts as it...
It's got to like land on its back.
Yeah.
It's so
quirky
cool.
and weird. Like it's so awesome. And then of course like Tamara comes in and then in his... without the armor. He's like in his robes and stuff with like a Tusken Raider weapon and stuff, and it's like all this implied backstory that is cool. It is cool shit.
Yeah, and that actor is just the coolest guy.
His voice, his mannerisms.
Yeah, he's got all these like lame Star Warsy like quips and stuff, but because he's the one that's saying it, it's just like, this dude is badass, and I'm convinced
he totally gets Star Wars
without a doubt.
I love when he says, "This isn't a spice dream." Shit like that. It's so perfect. It's just cool that they managed to bring him back in a way that A, didn't annoy me, and B, actually kind of lives up to the character's hype. But like, I kind of feel like I get like Boba Fett's coolness beyond just how he looks, because that's always what it's been. He's just like a suit of armor, and that's why he's cool.
Yeah, somehow they did justice to that, in my opinion.
Yeah, obviously there's more to explain with him, but the way, again, he is a Mandalorian. He's tracking Mando because Mando gets his armor in that first episode.
Yeah, it all feels natural and not forced.
And the kind of the debt the agreement he comes up with Mando is that he will help him get the child back because he's taken at the end of the episode. Is that what it was?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah,
if he gets to keep the armor.
Yeah, it was something like that. He agrees to help
at first he threatens to kill Baby Yoda for the armor.
That's right.
And then they both have a pretty sick fight with a bunch of stormtroopers, and then they make an agreement. And
yeah, the Razor Crest gets blown up.
Yeah.
Making the Lego set really valuable. Yeah, I didn't expect them to do that either. I thought they wanted... I don't know what ship they're going to give him. That made me start thinking, oh, maybe they're going to like kill Boba and he's going to wind up with the Slave 1. But now we know Boba's getting his own show or whatever, so that ain't happening. But Yeah, I thought it like ramped up the tension. Obviously, Baby Yoda's kind of taken by those Dark Trooper robots at the end. Some fans, and it's a fair criticism of the episode, is when Boba asks Din to take his jetpack off, because he has to take that jetpack off. Otherwise, I guess he could have flown after the troopers. But like, I mean, that doesn't really bother me, because I mean, he wouldn't have stood a chance. As you see in that last episode, he manages to beat one only just by himself, and like, whatever. There's certain mechanic things I can accept when, there's other stuff I enjoy about it, but...
Yeah, and they like fly up into space, surely. Or they fly up into the ship.
Yeah, I don't think it's like too egregious of like a little thing, because like surely the ship would have cannons and shit and like be firing down at him, but...
I mean, it crossed my mind, but it's Star Wars,
Yeah, it didn't bother me that much, and it seemed like it would seem like something in a standoff that would go down, where it's like, put your weapons down, put whatever your capabilities are down. I don't want you escaping right now.
Yeah.
Like whatever, that's fine to me. I was really curious how they were going to handle Boba, and if he was just going to like kind of overshadow Din and become the main part of the show. And I'm glad he's just kind of in these last 3 episodes, and it seems he's not relevant to this anymore. He's kind of gone off to do his own thing, which is cool. It makes his part in this show cooler.
Yeah, he's basically just paying off a debt.
Yeah, he needs to stay being like the bounty hunter kind of rough asshole.
Yeah, he needs to have less of a heart than
Din.
Yeah,
he needs to be more self-centered, because otherwise it just wouldn't make sense with what he's like in the old movies and stuff. But yeah, then we move into chapter 15, The Believer, which is more back to the kind of serial stuff, but it does play a role in explaining how the gang finds out where Moff Gideon is hiding Baby Yoda, so they can track him down. And they retrieve Bill Burr, who I said I didn't like the episode with him in the first season, but I really like the way they use him in this episode. They really give him a backstory, a full like character arc. They really explore him.
Yeah, I really liked his part. He's very Bill Burr-ish, like quick talking dude, and he's sort of like Finn, but with just a smaller story.
Yeah, like stuff. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's got like a fun action stuff with they look like turbo tanks with the carrying the explosive stuff, and they had to drive a certain speed, and the pirates come in and all that kind of stuff you'd expect. But it's when they get into that Imperial base that it kind of got really interesting to me. Although he did have a cool conversation in that tank where he's saying like, hey, it doesn't matter where you're born. It was a very Bill Burr kind of like stand-up line.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter where you're born. Like, you're just going to believe whatever the people that were born there would believe.
Yeah, and he says like everybody's got their breaking point. Because he keeps going on about this Mando taking off his mask.
Which is something I think like they've handled really well. Like they made it an integral part of his character. It's a whole part of his belief system. So when you do get that payoff at the end of this season, it is like, oh, that's like really well done. And it really feels earned.
Yeah, for sure.
And the episode ends with them getting they figure out where the ship is. And they do the fan servicey moment with Slave One and dropping the bomb with the... which they had to fucking do. I mean,
as soon as he started being chased by those TIE fighters, I was just waiting for it. And they didn't disappoint.
Because like, even if you don't like Attack of the Clones, you have to admit that is just such cool sound design, such a cool idea.
Honestly, that whole scene, like by itself, I think is awesome.
Yeah, it is a really good. I mean, we've constantly praised his like action capabilities, or Georgie boy.
There is one thing with this episode though, that I felt a bit weird about. They established that the Imperials are getting this substance, what was it, like tritium or something?
Unobtainium?
Unobtainium, and these pirates are blowing it up. There's a point where the Imperial guy says, we're using this to like bomb places and create chaos.
Yeah.
So surely all those pirates they were killing that were trying to blow this stuff up were the good guys, the guys trying to stop the Imperials.
That was my first thought when I watched the episode too, because they there's an earlier scene where they drive through like a little town that's kind of been ravaged by the Empire or whatever.
Yeah.
Which makes you seem like, they maybe they're like freedom fighters or something, but they specifically say they're pirates, whatever that means.
Yeah, and they're like an alien race that and you clearly see that it's humans that the planet like belongs to, quote unquote. But the fact that they're not trying to steal it, they're trying to blow this stuff up. Like, to me, that really suggests that they just
want it gone. They want to stop them.
Yeah. So, you know,
I think that was just a case of like, bloodlines, and they wanted an action scene in the episode in that moment.
Yeah, a really cool action scene. And it's not like a strike against the show. It just feels like very serially, very Indiana Jones, you know. Mm-hmm. The main character for this thing that's like for all ages, the main characters just kill people. And that's that.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, it is a pretty sick action sequence.
Yeah, action sequences.
I just love it in Star Wars where they like have to dress up as someone they're not and then play under those rules. Because like his armor sucks. They make jokes about how stinky... and like sweaty they'd obviously be. He gets like smacked in his armor and it like breaks. I like that stuff. And he's got to like solve problems without his gizmos and gadgets. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, it shows that he's capable even without all that shit.
Yeah. And, you know, enforces his helmet off thing that's part of his character. I guess we should talk about the last episode, The Rescue. Chapter 16, currently sitting with a 9.9 on IMDb from 30,000 people. Not that that matters. So this is... this feels very final to me. It feels like... almost feels like the show's end in a way. I think it's the end of the Baby Yoda arc and in the way it relates to Din.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Because it seems like they wrote these 2 seasons and clearly they made them pretty close to each other. They had the story mapped out and maybe they didn't realize quite how big Baby Yoda was going to be. Because I can't see them wrapping that story up and the Disney execs and just the things they require from Star Wars and letting him leave.
Yeah, I think to a lot of people, he's one of the reasons they watch the show.
But I mean, like the first episode of season 1 is the child or whatever.
Yeah.
And it ends with the pod opening and him seeing the kid. And since then, the whole story is about him bonding with his kid and basically adopting him as like a son.
Yeah, that has been the story. And I've got no idea where they can even take it from.
Yeah, I think that's why fans are like, well, yeah, what is there to even do now with Din now that he's gone? I suppose there are options, but... I almost don't mind the stories kind of being this way, where it's just like a couple seasons.
Yeah, I'd prefer that. Honestly,
because I think Din is a cool character from these 2 seasons. I like him. He's more developed than so many characters in Star Wars are. Like, there's enough there. I like him a lot.
Yeah, and he's clearly had like 2 separate arcs for the 2 seasons that don't really involve Baby Yoda or Grogu being the fear of droids. And the mask taking off. Those don't rely on... They can have him have more arcs without Baby Yoda being in the mix.
Yeah. It was just the core kind of emotional thing.
Absolutely.
Which got the payoff at the end with... I guess we should just talk about Luke, because the X-Wing shows up, and from that moment, I like knew it was Luke.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Unfortunately, I had it basically spoiled for me. On the Jar Media subreddit, someone posted like an angry thing because there's been a lot of debate around the like de-aging effects, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute. But I actually think the way they do Luke is surprisingly restrained.
Yeah.
I think the way that it's basically from Baby Yoda's perspective of him like watching it go down, like putting his hand on the screen as he is pricking up.
Yeah.
That gives it like a really cool point of reference, and the way everyone's reacting to it, like it's just like this legend, this like...
Well, everyone's sort of scared of him.
Which is awesome, because it keeps the Jedi being this mysterious, like powerful force that no one really understands or can deal with, and the fact that it makes so much sense now that those dark troopers basically only exist in the show so Luke can come in and wipe them away and save the day in like a setup. Some people are calling it a Deus Ex Machina, but I don't really feel that way, because they spend in their episode The Tragedy, it's like the setup. Baby Yoda's like he's communicating.
That's right.
With someone,
yeah.
But they just don't say who it is. So you know that someone's going to show up, and with the timeline, it makes sense that it would be Luke. Like, he's exploring the galaxy at this point, like finding holocrons or whatever the fuck. He's got to make his new school. Why would he not get such a rare, important. They keep saying in the show how valuable this asset is.
Yeah, and Luke knew Yoda. Like, if they connect through the Force or whatever the fuck, surely he knows that he's a little green goblin Yoda guy.
Yeah, so it becomes more of a question of like, okay, this is another jumping point for a different story almost, where it's like, are they going to eventually do like a Luke show or something? I don't know if the technology's quite there for that yet, but how did you feel about that? What was your first reaction to it? Because I was like bricking myself because I was so excited Luke was there, but they purposefully like don't show his face, and I was like, how are they going to do this? How the fuck are they going to do this? How is this going to work? Because I like Rogue One, but I cannot stand the decision of de-aging in that movie. I think that movie would work fine without showing that de-aging stuff. Obviously here they had to show the face.
Yeah.
You couldn't not. And I think those first couple shots where he just comes in are like creepily impressive, where he's not saying anything.
Yeah, I was stunned. It felt like just seeing him from episode 6 again.
Yeah, it was clearly a nod to that with him, like, you know, when he goes into Jabba's palace and he's got the whole thing on it. It's
his terrible haircut.
And Disney, I don't know how many more like cool hallway fights they can have to like make the fans nut themselves, but
it was very cool. I liked that whole part when he's going through the hallways and
even like, this is how nerdy it gets, even his fighting style, apparently the choreography of it is like part Luke refined from episode 6, but also part of the way Anakin fights from like the prequels.
Oh really?
Yeah, like the way he like deflects something is like identical to what Anakin does in episode 3.
That's really
like
cool.
Like little details like that. It's like, that's the kind of fan shit
that's the Filoni shit.
That's the stuff the fans really appreciate. Yeah, how did you feel about the overall Luke inclusion then? And it's like R2 showing up as well.
Yeah. I think R2 was a bit too far.
Yeah, I didn't need R2. I didn't.
But he is Star Wars. He's when people get up and start clapping their hands.
And it's not a thing where it's like it doesn't make sense, because like you see in the sequel movies, R2's like there at the temple. R2's always been with Luke. He fits on the X-Wing. Like, it makes sense he's there. I mean, like, whatever.
It was just a little bit eye-rolly, you know? Like,
it was massively eye-rolly, but...
He came on screen and it was like, I see right through what you're doing. You're playing me like a fiddle.
Yeah.
But, Luke's actual part in it, I think they had trouble with his face actually, like, emoting. Because I sort of wanted him to come across as a bit warmer, you know?
Yeah. It's definitely a technology versus story thing, where if they just had Mark Hamill be the correct age, I'm sure that scene would be quite different.
Yeah.
And it would have been better, but
yeah,
obviously that's not the reality we live in. It was fucking decades ago that those movies came out, and this is kind of the best thing we can get at the moment.
Well, yeah, it's that or recast.
But I think this also comes into the, like, cheering fans up thing, because they're so upset about Luke and The Last Jedi. I think it was kind of important to have Mark Hamill be involved in some way,
definitely,
like, so people could get that Luke they really wanted or whatever. I think it's when he speaks, and when I wish they just chosen like a wider angle so it wasn't so close on the face for when he's talking a lot of the time. It would, no matter what you do for it, you're gonna be able to see the technology side of it, and the decisions of the way they block it are designed around that technology. And like, he has to stand there really still and move as little as possible, and they're clearly using like scans from Return of the Jedi and stuff. It's cool that they're able to do it, but I have to admit, the first time it did kind of rip me out of the scene a bit. Watching it a second time, I was quite with it. But
yeah, you just, no matter how hard you try, you can't convince yourself that is a real face, because it's not.
Yeah. Which is a shame that it becomes, that's what the discussion becomes about, instead of like the actual moment and how it relates to the story or anything.
Yeah. But saying all this, honestly, I was more interested in the scene happening between Grogu and...
No, that's the point. Like, people are nutting about the Luke thing, but the way he's basically just the way the story wraps up, the Grogu part, because he's taking Grogu away. And he has to let him go because he'd be an asshole not to.
Yeah.
And that's dramatic. That's like a payoff for everything they've been building up, and the like final moment's really nice. He chooses to take his helmet off so he can let him see his face like for the first time, and it's like, It's like the I wouldn't say tragedy, it's like bittersweet.
Yeah, for sure. And the
way he like asks permission and stuff, it's like really cute.
Yeah, well, I mean, Baby Yoda's cute in every scene, but like that relationship was the heart of the show.
Mm-hmm. I think, yeah, that's what everyone's concerned about. Like, without the heart, how are you supposed to continue it?
But also, I don't want it dragged out to this elongated thing where I'm saying, just get rid of the fucking baby already.
Yeah, no, I'm exactly there with you. That's why I'm so shocked that it is seemingly wrapped up in this way.
Yeah, but I mean, as of right now, I'm super satisfied with this show. If there is another season, which I believe there is going to be, I'm at least going to give it a go without a doubt, because I'm super impressed. This shit is the Star Wars I've wanted for a long time.
Yeah. What else happens to that episode before we like wrap it up? The whole Darksaber thing, they do explain a bit of what that means and how it relates to Mandalore, and it seems that they're possibly setting up some kind of, Mandalore reclaiming thing, and there is drama there to be explored. It's just a matter of, is this like nearly as interesting as like the Baby Yoda thing is like a never-ending mystery box, that everyone is so intrigued by.
Yeah.
What's his backstory? Like
what's his future?
What's his future? What does the race get up to? Like, where does he come from and all this? A lot of people are like upset that they think that
Kylo Ren just killed him.
Yeah, Kylo Ren just offed him. I don't think there's any way that happens. I think some people are theorizing that by like season 5 he'll be back and he'll be like a little Jedi with Din like wearing Mandalorian armor. I don't know how I feel about that, but I can say this though. It's definitely not the last time we're seeing that character.
No. That's the question to me. Are they gonna, like, with the next season, are they gonna have a time skip to when Baby Yoda is next in the timeline, or are they gonna have a huge period of the show without him? Or is he only
I think they're gonna have a period
bits?
without him, because it appears they're going for that Marvel thing where they're having all these strands that are gonna like overlap at points. Because there's the tease at the end of the episode, the first time in Star Wars they've done a like after credits stinger basically, where Boba Fett goes back to Jabba's palace and kills Bib Fortuna and hops on the throne.
That shit was cool.
It was cool. The Book of Boba. Again,
is it a book? Is it not? Who knows?
I'm pretty sure it's its own show, and I hope it's a mini-series. I like mini-series Star Wars. I don't want like fucking 40 episodes of a Boba Fett show. If they have a story to tell if they want to explain like how he survived and what he's been up to and what he's doing now, like if it's like framed around him being the equivalent Jabba and like being the crime lord,
maybe there's like something flashbacks there or something that it could be sick.
And I it's a good episode. It's a good final episode. I was happy with the way it wrapped up and the like emotions of it or whatever. Do you think it's better than season 1? Because I remember really liking the kind of quaintness of the way that first season wrapped up, with the way the Ugnaught and the IG robot.
Yeah,
I really liked that, and
that was all very good.
It's going way broader now, including the Jedi and stuff. But I'll almost like the season more if, like, say season 3 comes out and there's no Jedi at all, nothing.
I agree. I totally agree.
That would make this so much cooler to me, and the Luke inclusion, everything, so much more like grand and important just for that one episode, and such a like huge payoff. But if in season 3 it's just like they just keep delving into all this same kind of shit, it will lose me. But for now, I'm pretty sure they're riding high off. Do you see like Mark Hamill's tweet, like, see anything good on TV last night? Like spoiling it for me. Yeah, I think overall it was a good season. I was happy with it. There's definitely some shit I'm concerned about and some quirks here and there that are, I don't know. It's like fucking impossible to talk about and like critique Star Wars.
Yeah, my biggest worry is all these other shows just diluting all of Star Wars again. Just having all this shit that I don't care about.
It's definitely a fear.
Yeah.
But after that last episode ended, you did say, and I think you agree with me, we agree on the idea that the future of Star Wars is in TV, that
without
it makes like it seems so obvious. Make a serialized, like chapter-based Star Wars show that holds true to its roots. Westerns, spaceships, samurai,
fantasy, all that stuff.
With the puppets and everything, like it has all the pieces now. It's just if they can keep the momentum going, and they've built it to such like a dramatic point. I feel like no matter what they do for season 3, it's going to feel disappointing to this compared to this season.
Yeah, the alternative to me is that these 2 seasons are like a story.
Yeah, the Book of Din.
Yeah, but then if they have like the Book of Din 2, you can tell a different story, same character, but a different story.
Yeah,
that could really work.
Yeah, I could be down with that, and it makes it more digestible too, because then if there is a bad book, which I'm sure there will be.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world. Because this story is over, it can't be ruined.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no matter what, we'll have these 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun concept, like in a few years to just hop in and just... Yeah, what else? Anything else? Music. I really want to shout out the music. Ludwig... Or was it Ludwig?
Ludwig.
Göransson, who recently also did the Tenet score, I think. Yeah, he did Tenet, Black Panther, Venom, of course.
Central Intelligence, yeah.
I love how he's kind of created his own sound for Star Wars. It's not relying on the John Williams way of doing it, you know?
Yeah.
I think it really is its own thing.
It feels like Star Wars, but it feels like the Mandalorian's take on Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like that viewpoint into this same
Yeah, because they still use like the like leitmotifs and the themes for everyone and stuff. And you said that you think the music's a lot better in season 2 compared to 1.
I think I just noticed it way more.
You noticed it in a good way too, where it's like, man, this is really working. Like, I'm so glad they gave Baby Yoda his little theme, which they kind of play at the end and in the Spider episode. And Boba Fett has like a really cool like palette of sounds that they use for him as well that really fits. And
they've got like action versions of these themes. It's so sick.
Yeah, it's very Star Wars. It's very cool. One thing in like a technical side, and I know this is like super nitpicky, but when you read about this dome thing, you start to notice the way it's shot and the way the dome is integrated. Like I can see the seams with my eyes, and I don't know if that's just a me thing, just from like watching all the behind the scenes and like just really being into this shit. It's like a curse, like finding out how they do everything.
Yeah. I think it was only once I noticed like something wrong, something that just didn't quite work. It looked like a border around, it was like a white border around the...
On what episode?
I have no idea.
I think I know the exact... There's a moment in The Siege where they're walking through the town and you can see the IG robot from the first season in the background. There's something about that shot that really stands out, and it's like that's clearly like not real.
Right.
I think actually for the most part, the production's very good in terms of that kind of stuff. And I mean, they have so many fucking computers rendering all these backgrounds, and the technology is just so advanced now. Like it's really hard to tell a lot of the time. Like I have a feeling a lot of the helmets are CG, like in that Iron Man way. It's. When Bo-Katan like puts on a helmet, I swear it's like CG or something.
Really?
And the fact like we don't know for sure, it means they're doing something right.
That means they've succeeded either way.
Yeah, I think the technology is very impressive.
I'm pretty sure the thing I noticed was on chapter 14, the tragedy. Oh, during really? A bunch of the action scenes, around, like on the top and the sides, there was this. It was like a white border. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that was. I thought that one was quite good. That was weirdly directed by. I think the plan was originally that Jon Favreau wanted to direct it because it was the first Boba Fett episode, like proper.
Yeah.
But he couldn't do it for whatever reason. So Robert Rodriguez came in, of Spy Kids. And directed that episode and did an awesome job. He made Boba like so like vicious. Yeah, the way he like smashes into the stormtroopers and stuff.
They made him so cool somehow. But yeah,
and people were making fun of like his beer belly and stuff. But I love that. I fucking love that. I love that he doesn't give a shit.
So much cooler.
He's just this fucking. He's just a tank.
Yeah.
Well, any other final thoughts, bro, on this season?
I think that about wraps it up for me.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they do with this now, because it does feel very complete. I'm happy with my time with it so far. And, there were no episodes where I felt like, yeah, that was a fucking waste of time. Like in the first season.
Yeah.
Where I really felt that a fair amount, but
it's also just so easy to watch and enjoy. Like you don't really need to think about it. Like.
It's proper Star Wars in that pulpy way where it's like so reliant on like action and stuff, and that action is really good. Like it's really fucking good. Like in the first season, in that last episode where Mando takes down a TIE fighter by himself. Like that's so cool. Like that's in like in a TV show, and it looks the way it does. It's like real like playpen toy shit. Like all the shit you'd like imagine in your wildest dreams are actually just getting in TV shows now. You know, in a dome. Like the technology is just at the right point to be able to pull this stuff off. So I'm interested to see when like they finally master the face technology and they go back and patch Rogue One and Chapter 16, and because it's genuinely so close. It is so close.
It is gonna get to the point where they won't even need to like hire actors. They'll just pay them for their face. And then someone will just like mocap it.
Yeah, they just scan their faces. Like I was reading somewhere that like they would not be surprised if Disney is doing like really like high res scans of like every actor they have now.
Oh
like,
god,
just so they have it like the data. So when the technology is good enough, they can just create perfect replications of the people. Like it's creepy shit. It's like really like Black Mirror.
I totally believe it though.
But yeah, if money's to be made in it, they will be doing it. So yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comments below if you enjoyed it as much as we did. The bad taste has been washed out of my mouth for now. We'll see where it goes.
Star Wars is back, baby.
Well, you said it.